So good morning to almost everybody, and good afternoon, good evening, especially to Peter over in Queensland, recently joined us. So this morning wanted to talk a little and then do an exercise, so something just slightly different before we go on to meditate. And last week, if you were here last week, I was mentioning the Alaya, the storehouse consciousness, a model for talking about how we storing of sense impressions, or impressions, if you like, mental impressions, habits, previous experiences, and how these habits form the basis or the seeds of future moments that arise into thoughts, speech, actions. So the Alaya is a model of karma, in terms of that some of those impressions will arise as skillful or unskillful actions, habits, but also of conditionality. The Alaya arises in relation to, it's a model of paticca samuppada, or dependent arising. And conditionality is really important to the practice that we're doing, to a mindfulness wisdom practice. Firstly, it's a very, conditionality is about moments of experience, if you like. So it's very fluid and flexible. It's a way we talk about objects of experience, happenings, arisings, and the Alaya is talking about impressions. So same thing. So it's a way of talking about anatta, not fixed, not substantial, but momentary, with a sense of flow. But conditionality, of course, is also, well, it's all about conditions that influence each other, conditions that are always connected. So everything arising on the basis of previous causes and conditions, numerous conditions. And in a sense, we're affected by everything that happens to us. So in practice, what we do is recognize, if you like, those moments where conditionality is obvious, where there's a sort of linkage in experience that we're present to. Because we're aware, we get to see some of the conditions that influence the present moment and get into the future. So, for example, how a pleasant or unpleasant feeling conditions a thought or a story, how it influences the thoughts in the mind, how a body sensation conditions the arising of a particular emotion. A painful body sensation often conditions an emotion, or it conditions a feeling that, oh, this is pleasant, oh, I don't like this, for example. Or how a story or a thought influences our perceptions through the senses. Particular sort of sound impacts, and we're more or less likely to find it pleasant or unpleasant, depending on what has gone before, how we've responded to that sound or that sight before. So all of this, Buddhism 101, really. But the aim isn't to see all the conditioned relationships that we have in practice. Definitely not. It's I think the Buddha said it was impossible to do this. But we need to see enough to sort of know, to really understand, have insight into the principle of conditionality, for the penny to drop. We don't need to understand all the content, if you like, all the conditioned content, but have insight into the nature of conditionality, to the extent of seeing all that we are is conditions and conditioning, and see how much that past informs the present. So I came across a couple of exercises yesterday, which are linked to the Alaya, and they're from Tricycle magazine. Well, one of them I made up myself. So the first one is from Tricycle magazine, and it's by someone called Ben Connolly, who's connected with Katagiri Roshi. It's a Zen teacher, and it goes something like this. I'll just say it, and then we can do it. So you just take some mindful breaths. It just helps you establish yourself in the present, become aware of how you feel, and then you list 10 things from your past that have planted seeds in the Alaya, in the storehouse. And all those things will in some mysterious way have been involved in creating your perception of the moment that you find yourself in. Because everything is connected through different causes and conditions, whatever comes into your mind counts, if you like. But it's also quite helpful to just focus to some extent on feelings and thoughts, so emotional states. So he gives an example. So he says, my perception in this moment depends on, and then he says, use your hands. It's quite good to use your hands so you don't have to count. And he says, loving my mum, the rainy road last night, the terror of war. So they're quite general, the things he's saying, and they're quite specific to him, but they're all things that are in his consciousness, his store consciousness, if you like, at the moment. And it's the same for all of us, all of us. So we just do that, and then you just let it go. You just bring these 10 things to mind that are out of hundreds or thousands that you could bring to mind, that are in this store consciousness, that are in some ways conditioning the mind in this moment. So that's the first thing we'll do. And then we'll do, we won't stop, we don't analyze, you just do it and then you let it go. And then we'll do a second thing, which is that, if you like, our conditioning or our conditionality doesn't just depend upon our past conditioning. In a sense, conditioning is everything, but then there is also the present moment. We're particularly alive to in this practice. So what arises, how we meet what's happening in the present moment has a big influence on what happens in this moment and going forward from this moment. So the second exercise is around my perception of in this moment is of. And that might be, well, my perception in this moment is the blue sky outside the window. Perception in this moment is feeling the body move in the moment. My perception in this moment is of feeling the breath and hearing the sound of my voice. So like that. So if you like, the second exercise is more, it's a way of helping us land more with present moment experience. And the first one is helping us, in a way, it's a sort of right view, helping the principle of conditionality land within us a bit more deeply. So that's what we'll do. I won't record us doing that. I think I've said enough about it. So